Welcome to the 365 Message Center show. This morning we've got a bunch of stuff to go through, including some advisories around COVID-19, and headline around OneDrive sync and version history. Roll it. Yeah, we think we've got the hang of this new YouTube admin center and buffer that's really tightened up there. Welcome to the 365 Message Center show, where we help you plan for change, prevent or fix, and stay informed. That's three things there, right there. Welcome Suzanne, Phil, Sarah, and others who haven't chimed in the chat. We do encourage you to get in there and discuss various things. Good now to you, Daniel.
Hello, good afternoon here from Nashville, the home of some very bad storms this past week. So we're actually recovering from some pretty strong tornadoes that went through the Middle Tennessee area, not just Nashville. Actually, the hardest hit area was just east of here in a city called Cookeville. Was pretty hit pretty hard. So we are doing recovery efforts and having time for volunteers to cut up trees and all that kind of stuff. So the cleanup will happen. It'll take a few weeks to even get power, I think, to some people. So it's been pretty hard.
Yeah, the disasters and bad weather like that, or terrible weather like that, when it hits out utilities like power, it really shows our reliance on things. We get a similar kind of thing happening, it makes me think of when it's really heavy snowfall and it might snap power lines, and people are relying on that for keeping warm.
Well, keeping warm and if you think about medical devices that need power and all this kind of stuff. So it's been a tough week for a lot of people, and I know a few people that have been pretty affected by this, and so it's been tough. But I know we'll make it through, and there's been a few deaths associated with the storms too. So anyway, we if you have if you're local and you would like to help out. Hands On Nashville is an organization that is helping out with boots on the ground, as they say, to not only put money in, but it's how you can volunteer to be involved. So anyway, thank you for letting me talk about that. Appreciate it.
No problem. It's good to rustle up support wherever you can. Let's get into it. There are a few things to talk about. I know that this message sort of sneaked in. Maybe it was an update near the end of Tuesday. We have an update available for Office 365 Pro Plus, the monthly channel, MC 205277. We did talk about it on Tuesday's show, and there was a change to the message, but I don't really see. Do you see the change in it?
I do not. It was just updated, so I don't see the change. I can't tell. Yeah.
They might have had something more to add to the list of features that were updated. It did look a little light for Office for a month.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Check that out. And as their advice goes for Office Pro Plus, if you're on an automatic updates scenario via the content distribution networks, then no problem. It'll take care of that. But if you need to download it yourself, then you know the drill.
That's right.
This next one around Microsoft Authenticator update, or app rather. It is different, as you can see from the screenshot, how it's going to operate, or at least people's experience of that app. This is the updated feature. The Microsoft Authenticator app shows full screen account pages, MC 205513. I'm in the thick of MFA rollouts in parallel with mailbox migrations for one large customer. It is quite a change, especially for people who don't read their email or pick up on every other way that we tried to tell them, whether it be leadership or lift posters or whatever. And, oh, hello, I'm working from home, but now I can't. I wasn't in the office to enroll MFA. Well, there's a further change, and just for those on the podcast, it is a change to the UI, apart from color changes, but you'll see that once what used to display on the MFA app was rolling codes and a list of all the accounts that you might have attached to MFA. Now, if you want to see any of that, you have to tap through that account to a full screen where you can see the rolling code.
I think I understand why there's some of this change, because if you have more than just a rolling code, you can have more information about getting in. I don't know about you though. When I use an authenticator app, I just open it up, see my number, type in my number, and I'm done. Right? If that's what I'm doing. Authenticate. It's gotten a lot better, the Authenticator app, with working seamlessly with your apps on your phone. So if that's how it's working, it's fine, right? And as well as prompts. When you log in, it says go check your Authenticator app. All you have to do is click approve, and you're done. So for those where you're just having to see those numbers cycling. That's kind of how I use Authenticator app, other than what I just described. I will say I agree. I think there's been a lot of improvements with the Authenticator app, and I'm really loving how it's just seamless. Like I log in, my phone goes ding. I have to do my thumbprint, on my device and click approve, and on I am. I don't have to type in anything. It's great.
I started to think it was because they didn't want you to expose all these rolling codes if you've got them, that you have yet another step. But right. We're not using, or we don't even recommend necessarily that being the first option for MFA. We go with a push notification in the app and a SMS message as a backup. Or for some who are still using Casio calculators for phones.
Yes.
No, seriously, man. There's definitely still people that have the good old Nokia 3310 that bounces off the ground, and it's a good backup phone. Yeah. So you have to receive it via
somewhere in here.
It's probably a door stop, right? It's keeping your door from. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So that's a change to the app, and it's rolling out to end users on test flight now. Beginning to roll out to iOS customers mid-March, and Android later this US spring. I just thought I'd put in the Locale.
Good job.
There. Yeah.
Yes, I was wondering if you're going to do that.
How about this one? Microsoft 365 preparedness for COVID-19 coronavirus, guidance regarding best practices for Microsoft Teams. At MC 205458. What was your first thoughts when you started to scan through this, Daniel? Is it an important message for everyone to read?
I felt like no. Short answer.
Yep.
I think the longer answer here is I think it's good to give. This seems like a message that administrators might need to have in their back pocket for when their leadership says, wait, aren't we using the cloud? And how is Microsoft keeping that stuff running? With I hear Microsoft sending all their employees home, and they're not letting them work. That's
from
not
the
true,
office.
right? But right, you know what I mean. Hey, I hear Microsoft people are not even going in the office. How are they keeping our data secure? This seems like a message that, like I said, maybe you keep it in your pocket and you pull out and say, well, actually, here's how they're responding. Here's what they're doing. I think and as well as most large organizations and service-oriented organizations are communicating things about this, a new strain of the coronavirus, of a coronavirus that is highly contagious, and so they're really trying to put people's mind at ease about their services and how you can interact with them. So I think it's an okay message. I don't know that it's a major update, but okay. And I'm okay with it. But like I said, I think it's just an informational, just, make sure you keep this in your back pocket.
Yeah. Well, look, let's go through a bit of this message. So it is, for the most part, at the beginning of the message, giving us some comfort that Microsoft have things in hand. They do have a plan for these sorts of events for their own business continuity, so they can continue to offer services for us. There is a PDF that they link through to, which the interesting thing with this, let's just flick over, is that you have to agree to, or sign into and agree to, something of an NDA to read it. So as we click on through, and we've signed in using, where is it? There we go. PDF has come down, and it's something that it feels like it is kept up to date in terms of what they are currently running at. There's a greeting there from someone important. But yeah, mission for someone important, someone with a signature on there. The program itself, and then getting into the methodology about how they have continuity plans. But I remember somewhere down here there was a table, wasn't there? Maybe this has changed. I thought I saw something where it had like a list of, this is how we're currently running right now.
I don't remember seeing that.
I'm wondering if it's another one of those cases where you have something that links differently for the mobile app versus that. But anyway, as Daniel said, keep that in your back pocket for the report, or rather for having an answer for something. The summary there. And as we get down into actions you can take, because this is two-part message. This is Microsoft's own preparedness for continuity, and then actions you can take. And this is something that we've seen come up certainly more as we keep our eyes open for the community too. The guidance around how to enable or start to set up services to help you if you need to plan for business continuity and send people home suddenly. Certainly centering around Microsoft Teams, isn't it, Daniel?
It is, and I think for organizations, this is something that really hasn't been tried recently. And at least in the U.S., I know there are some parts of the world that have to deal with things like this coming up frequently. So I don't want to say this is something that's never happened, but it is something that a lot of organizations in the U.S. have not had to deal with. Of what if we need to close our doors? We need to still function, but what if we can't allow people to come to work because of this contagion? And so I think the people working remotely, I think Teams is well positioned to enable that. I also think, though, for organizations that have not done a true user adoption activities with Teams, they're going to struggle, at least at the very beginning, because this is so quick. People are, if you've not been working and you haven't been in Teams and using it on a daily basis, and you haven't really engaged people, I'm not talking just training is part of it, but really engaged people of how they should be using it, then it could be problematic for you and your organization to get up to speed quickly. So I think more preparation is needed for, hey, how are we going to do this? Rather than tomorrow, oops, we need to close, someone's tested positive, we need to close, how are we going to talk to each other? Well, how are you going to train and work out issues and really do those user adoption activities on the that quickly? You're not, because you're going to be too busy worrying about how you allow VPN and who, all this kind of stuff. I think you're going to be too worried about. So do it now. I think is kind of my guidance. But Teams is that tool of allowing you to do meetings, allowing you to have chat, continue those sharing documents with the back end of OneDrive and SharePoint. So allowing you to do all of that and keep your business running.
Yeah, exactly. that's the concern I have too as you look at this advice, because we know that yes, it is very much down to helping people adopt and introduce them to the relevant features. You won't have that luxury if your doors have closed will be closing in 24 hours. So some of these links, they do go off to some default advice, which, as you'd expect, of course, it's there. At least you've been pointed to it. But I think that the key thing, I just wonder if there's some way that we can address this is regarding 365. Is really like, you're not going to be able to get through a full program. You're not going to be able to get through full training and things. What are the key things that you can set up to get this thing going and cracking really quickly? 5 key governance decisions around what are we going to do to keep our environment compliant and safe. If you've got a policy around external sharing, put that in place, that sort of thing. How are you going to quickly create a structure? It's not going to be perfect, but what a structure that is going to keep people in touch with the latest information so that they can make decisions and work together as a team. How are you going to bring what you can in terms of work that you're currently working on? And I think Phil there, maybe he means something else, but there is this concern that, it's one thing to have working from home tools within Microsoft, but your line of business applications and things that would come over a VPN, are they sized and capable of taking the full load of everyone working from home? So lots of different things to think about, but I think there's definitely some things that can be done and decided. Again, it's not about perfection. It's about getting, when a disaster happens, sometimes you do have to grab your bag and go, and you do your best. And it's not to say that don't think about security and compliance. Do definitely think about that, but don't look for a perfect information architecture. All right. The main thing is keeping people in touch, making these decisions to continue to work, and having a place where people can keep in touch with each other. One thing that really stuck with me when I looked at some early videos from Wuhan was people were kept in their homes, especially overnight. There was a curfew. And I don't know if you remember that one that went viral where there were people calling out from the building and saying, be strong, be strong. They're calling out of their windows, and the whole city was that. That's what you actually will need as an organization to keep encouraging people along. So have that space. Anyway, lots to talk about. Take a look at those resources for yourself. And think about your own business continuity plan and what you can do for the essentials. Maybe that should have been our headline. I was a bit indecisive, but our headline today is the OneDrive sync version history, MC205517. This is where on the Windows desktop and on Mac, how about that for parallel release? You can I like it. Manage your version history from the OneDrive client.
Yeah, and really, I think this harkens back, in my mind, where if you remember, we had shares, network shares, and we could, if you set it up, you could actually right-click on files under network shares and say, I want to go back to a previous version, if they're Windows shares. And so this is kind of that functionality back to, I don't have to go into OneDrive, into the website, and say, I want to revert versions. I can do this in the client. So in my OneDrive sync client, I can do it in Windows Explorer. I can do it in Finder and on the Mac. So I'm able to interact with that document and its previous versions without having to, I need to do this. So I need to leave my normal place of working with my files in OneDrive and go somewhere else to interact with and try to restore a version. So I'm really liking this ability. I really am, to be able to do that.
Faced this just yesterday. It was a question from someone in a team. They needed to roll back because it's the good old auto update. They hadn't turned it off and started changing the original instead of save as and continue. To be honest, this is good to have another option, but I often guide customers, look, you're in the document already. You're looking at it. Use your version history within PowerPoint, Word, Excel, whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You can do that within PowerPoint, Excel, Word. You can go to version, and remember, that's only if you have Office 365 Pro Plus, right? So if you're using OneDrive, but you're using some other version of Office, then you can't do that. But I agree if you're in it. But what if you're not in it, and you make a change, and someone says, "Oh, this is the wrong version." Well, being able to revert back without having to open up that document is nice too, I think. So it's options, and I will see myself probably using this, but not using it as much as what you're describing, using version history within the document. So
gradually rolling out to customers mid-March, and rollout should be completed by the end of the month. We have multilingual publishing for modern SharePoint MC 205516. We have a friend who's going to help us do a deep dive on this, don't we?
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive on this one because really there's a lot to talk about here. We've had multilingual in SharePoint in the past. Some would say it's not great. And then now we've got modern, and what is the story about multilingual in modern, which modern is now, remember that, for publishing in modern SharePoint. So we're going to be doing a deep dive. So definitely check out the audio version of the podcast. Go to messagecenter.show and subscribe to the podcast so you'll get that audio. We'll be talking with a multilingual expert who has been really working in this space for a while. So we'll be doing that, and it'll be published this week.
So enabling the publishing and consumption of pages and news in multiple languages from SharePoint communication sites. There's ability to assign your language expert for the different languages. You'll also get a notification if you're a multinational when someone is starting to try and access this content over their language, and so then you can make sure that the right person's on the job from your own team to do the translation.
Well, because there's many aspects to this. There's the giving users the capability to select their language, right, and to see your content, but there's the translating the language, because we can do it automatically with some Azure function, or you can use other services, but it's not going to be perfect. And so you're going to need someone who owns that content to go, okay, I need to tweak this in here to actually make it make sense and get the message across. But then you also need the ability to keep things in sync. How are you going to the process of keeping, an English or a French or a Spanish, and how do you keep those in sync when you make an update to one, right? It needs to be made across the other languages too. So we'll be, like I said, deep diving into this, but I think this is a great step for organizations many organizations need a multilingual presence. They're becoming international. Here in the U.S., you just have to cross our northern border, and now you need a French version for Canada. So I think it's a lot more organizations are having to implement multilingual now.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at some of the hints there too in the image there. Take a look at it for yourself, but a part where on the page you can see the different translations and when the draft was last updated. So you can cast your eye across that and see, maybe Russian sort of lagging behind for this version of change. So we'll contact the right person. Let's keep moving along. We have something that I actually didn't know existed in Teams. That's not really unusual, actually, because there's a lot to it. Did you know you could
there definitely is.
You could mention the word team or the word channel, and it would use the appropriate thing depending on your context where you currently are in Teams. You did? Oh, you went mute.
I did know this.
You did know this.
Sorry, but I did know this. But being able to do this, but it worked for the non-English users, I think is fantastic. Again, we're talking about working as a team with people who have a different language than English. So being able to mention a channel or mention a team and make it work, I think is great.
Yeah, so clever little tip there to just mention that channel or team and address the right audience. So a bit of a theme here today with multilingual. This is we have begun rolling this change out and expect to complete this by end of March. That's MC 205585. And allow IT managers to pre-install apps, MC 205752. This is apps for Microsoft Teams. We have seen this story building up a bit around being able to pin apps and push certain things out. And so now this is further into the story. As an admin, you might have applications that you want to make available front and center to everyone. So you can publish those and make sure that they are available underneath the ellipsis menu, if not on the bar itself.
Right.
Yeah, and they've got a few examples there. Contoso Companion.
I actually see this being used a whole lot more, or not more, but I see this being used a whole lot in the future. And not to plug my own stuff, but I will be actually doing a workshop where I'll talk about this a little bit in SP Fest Seattle later this year. But I'll be doing some other sessions as well, but talking about how this can be part of your, not just your intranet story, but your whole collaboration story. So I think this functionality is going to be something that's used widely.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're trying to standardize that experience and have the tools in place. Wherever we need to rely on end users to open something, to install something, to read something, we can't depend on it if we want. Yeah, I know.
People do not read email. That's no, for sure.
But I mean, even here, people may not even read the @mention team. Hey team, yep. We'll be pinning this app that's going to be standard for everyone. It's a new app. Attend that training session. If you don't watch the video, I can build the story out.
Right.
It's there. It's pinned. Right. Last one. This is a really good news for orgs that are still in between and still communicating with customers that are using Skype Consumer. This is new feature, Teams and Skype Consumer chat and calling interop, where you might still need to communicate with your customers and they're using Skype. Then you can use Teams to Skype. That's MC 205801. What else can we say about it? It is a policy you can flick on, external access, something we did have in Skype for Business, so it's now available in Teams. That's
right. And it's, I think it's rolling out end of March 2020. And then it completed hopefully by the end of April. I say hopefully because I think if you are a regular watcher of the show or you're regular watching the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and the Message Center, you will see there's quite a few messages that pop back up when they're edited, and they often will bold when they change things in the message. Not all the time, but often will. And so we're seeing these pop up now where they're changing the rollout period. So not necessarily about this message itself, but keep an eye on messages that pop up and you go, oh, I've already read that. Well, it may be that the timing is changing for the rollout, so you may need to keep an eye on that. But that's pretty much for this one. You don't need to do anything. It says you might want to consider updating user training. Yes, I would agree with that. But being able to have conversations from Teams to Skype Consumer.
That's right. Well, that's it for the week. There are a few things that dropped into the tech community. Whoopsie daisy. Just put up the notes all over your face there, Daniel. Sorry. Around the bookings and Teams. So there's a new article there. Check that out for new capabilities to empower healthcare organizations. Yep, the news is going
Which
to
I
keep
think
coming.
it's more than that. It's more than that, but it is, that's bookings app in Microsoft Teams. So take a look, take a read on that, and I'll be posting a link to that as well, to Twitter for everybody to look at.
All right. So that was episode 1 through 5. Catch us again next week. Thanks to everyone who joined, and a few new people there too. Hello, Epic Mo and Von Ski. Sorry that we didn't answer your questions in a timely fashion when you asked them, because there's a bit of a 30-second buffer or so. But yeah, Von Ski, when would we use the @mention or @team? Definitely when we're trying to get attention for our whole team. Could be done from any channel, doesn't have to be the general. But yeah, I find that I use it occasionally, but I do use it sparingly.
Yeah, and the team is remember, we can create a team. It doesn't have to be the whole channel, so we can create a team that is a subset of those, so you can talk and make sure that you alert them. You don't have to alert the whole channel or alert the whole team.
That's right. Yeah. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.